Good night, well, this is Ivan O'Mara. It's going to be another very interesting video. I have a different setup, yeah, because I clean my room. Yeah. For now, I'll be making a video with my table. I clean my room and I have a different setup, so I'll no longer be sitting on my couch. I'll be making a video with my chair and my table. Yeah, fucking hot, man. Yeah. I thought you were gonna do your go-through series. I couldn't. I had family over. I couldn't do the go-through series. I had family over. Yeah. Yeah. This video won't be long. I'll talk for maybe, I don't know, 50 minutes. I'm done. I'm tired. I'll watch the show with you guys and I'm gonna go to bed. Yeah. Oh, give me a sec, guys. Accidentally threw my smokes in the garbage. Yeah. So, this is your new setup? Yes. This is my new setup. My room is nice and clean. It's nice and clean. Yeah. I cleaned it thoroughly. It's like completely spotless clean. How long did it take you, Ivy? It took me a good hour to clean it. I also have to clean the bathroom. Yeah. Yeah. No, Ivan, seriously, man, what path is better, traditional publishing or self-publishing? It just depends on your goals, right? I'm not going to say, I think self-publishing is better than traditional publishing, but, for some people, traditional publishing is obviously the better way to go, obviously. It just depends on your specific needs, your goals. If you want to be a famous author and have a lot of help with your book, with the editors and everything, then traditional publishing is obviously the better way to go. If you don't want to spend as much money, or you're poor, then traditional publishing is obviously your best bet. Because traditional publishing, you don't have to spend a dime. Getting a literary agent doesn't cost you money. And if a literary agent does charge you money, that agent is a scam, a fraud and a scam. As agents make money off your book, they don't. If any literary agent charges you money up front, that's a scam, obviously. They're not really a legit agency right now. Agents get paid when you get paid. That's how it works, right? Yeah. Agents get paid when you get paid. Yeah. Yeah. If you have a large fan base, it's common sense. Self-publishing is obviously your best bet, obviously, because you already have an audience. You might as well self-publish it on Amazon or Lulu. You're going to make way more money. If you're someone who doesn't have a big audience, and obviously traditional publishing is your best bet. Some Sarah. Yeah. But self-publishing is also good for an aspiring author who doesn't have a big audience. As if you sell a good 1,000 copies, you can still make some pretty good money for yourself. You can make your 20 grand, 15 grand, 30 grand. And that's pretty good for a first-time author. if you self-publish. If you traditional publish, you won't make. You have to sell more. You won't make as much because traditional publishing, they take the publishing houses take 85%, 90% of the money, and you only get your 5-10%, 8%, whatever it is. If you want your book to be at bookstores, you want your book to be a bit more professional, then traditional publishing is obviously the best way to go. You want to be famous and do book signing sessions and be on Jimmy Fallon's or Jimmy Kimmel's show, obviously, then traditional publishing is obviously your best bet. If you just want to be richer but more simple, just have YouTube interviews and all that stuff, then self-publishing is the best way to go. So if you're in it more for the fame and all that stuff, then traditional publishing is better. If you're in it more for the money and just be more simple, then self-publishing is the better bet, obviously. Samsara. Yeah. The only way you'll get maybe more interviews also is if your self-publishing book is a huge hit. It's sold like hundreds of thousands, millions of copies, and you might get a few interviews here and there. And you might do a few book signing sessions, but chances are, as self-publishing, you're not going to get that. The only thing you'll get is maybe a YouTube interview and that kind of stuff. That's it. You're not going to be on like a Jimmy Fallon show if you self-publish. Samsara. For me, it's common sense. I'm self-publishing because I have a large audience. I have the keys to the kingdom. The whole world's tuning to my channel. It's common sense. I obviously self-publish. As for me to traditionally publish, I have to sell to the gates. I'm not selling to the gates. I'm self-publishing my book Xanus online. But if I traditionally publish, my book would be more professional because the editors would polish up my draft. They'd polish up very little because my book's a masterpiece, and it look more professional. Because self-publishing books tend to not look as professional as traditional publishing houses. The traditional publishing books, they look a bit more professional because you have a huge house behind it, right? Yeah, that's my point. Samsara. Yeah, for you, yeah. For me, it's common sense. I self-publish. I have the keys to the kingdom. And I want 100% of the rights of my novel. Hence what? I don't need to sell to the gates. I'm obviously going to self-publish. It'd be stupid for me to traditional publish when I have the keys. I don't need the traditional publishing house's help. Yeah, I don't even need a developmental editor, but my book is already good enough. Yes, if a development editor worked on my book, they might polish it up a bit in my raws a little bit more, but like it won't really make a difference. As my book is a masterpiece, I don't need a developmental. My book is already good, man. Yeah. I just need a proofreader to fix my typos, grammar, spelling, punctuation, sentence structures. That's what proofreading is. Whereas copy editing and developmental editing is a big no-no. I don't want anyone touching my story. They can ruin my story. Yeah, obviously. And that's why a lot of aspiring authors, they choose to traditionally publish because they know the editors in the book publishing business. They can polish up their manuscript. Yeah. Because the truth is, your book just has to be good enough for the traditional publishing houses to fix it up a little bit, and you're good, right? Obviously, whereas my book is already good. You guys read my book. I don't need any development editor. Yes, they can polish up a few of my raw stiff writing, but like even if your book's already good, my book's a masterpiece, man. I don't need a development editor. I don't need their help. I just need help with the punctuations, the spelling, the grammar, sentence structures. That stuff I need to fix in my book, but everything else you don't touch. As I'm gonna tell the editors when I submit my manuscript, I only want it proofread. I don't want it copy edited or development. And developmental editing costs a lot of money, man. Very expensive. Developmental editing might cost you maybe $3-4 grand for it. Because they're fixing up your story. They have to read your whole book and fix your whole story. It's a lot of money. Proofreading is cheaper. They just fix spelling, punctuations, grammar, that kind of stuff. Sentence structures. That's cheaper. For $2 grand, $2,300, whatever it is, I can get my book proofread and design my cover for my book. Some sound. Yeah. Yeah, Ivan's book doesn't yet. If I truly publish, the publishing houses will tell me, yeah, Ivan, your book's already good enough. We don't really need to fix much. You might have to fix maybe a little sections here and there, and that's it. Just a few little sections. Because my book's already, it's a masterpiece. It's the best fast novel written, man. I don't need to be cocky, but like, I'm a humble man for life. But I read my book and I read Lord of the Rings, these other books, and my book's more entertaining to read. As my stepmother told me, my book's #1. And they own the book publishing business. They know all the best books like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, and they told me my book's #1, which means it's better than those books, right? It's a better book than those books, yeah. As you guys read sections of my book. Yeah. You read sections of my book, right? Yeah. That's why nowadays all these aspiring authors who have a big audience, they all self-publish because it's common sense. If you have a big audience, you obviously self-publish. It's common sense, right? You'll make way more money, and you already have a fan base. Yeah, obviously. Whereas if you're someone who doesn't have a big fan base and you traditionally publish, but traditional publishing is a daunting process. You have to find a literary agent. You have to what? And then when you find a literary agent, that can take you years. And if you're lucky to get a literary agent, now that agent has to find you a book publishing deal for your book, which can take time, loads of rejections, yeah. And that can lower your self-esteem too. I'm just throwing it out there, Sarah. Yeah, man. I can lower your self-esteem. Yeah. And you really got to ask yourself, do I want to be a writer full time? Because most writers are part-time. Like, you need to at least make your 50-60K to write full-time and make a living as an author, right? To pay your bills, pay your rent, pay for your groceries, your car bills. You got to pull in at least your 50-60K a year. But if you self-publish and you sell 2,000 copies and you sell your book at $30, that's $60,000 you're making from your book. You can now write full time. You don't need to sell like 2,000 copies. Well, no, you need to sell a bit more, maybe 3,000 copies, because don't forget, the Amazon will take a cut of your money. Yeah. Samsara. Yeah. Obviously. Yeah, right. You're going to get interviewed for your book. I might not, but I might go on a book tour. But I'm the exception. My book will sell hundreds of millions of copies. So because my book will sell hundreds of millions of copies, that's #1 on the charts. It makes sense. I get interviewed, but I will not be on Jimmy Fallon's show or Jimmy Kimmel's show. I didn't sell to the gates. It's all behind the scenes. So when the people interview me, that's behind the scenes, in front of a large crowd of people, like thousands of fans. That's all behind the scenes, man. It's not a public eye. I didn't sell to the gates. And you guys get what you deserve. You wanted to keep behind the scenes, now I'm kept behind the scenes when I'm king with VJ. Samsara. I even film it. Like if I get interviewed in front of a large venue, I'm not gonna film it. It's only if it's one-on-one interviews and I can film that. But the big event at the venue, I'm not filming it, man. You get what you deserve. You're left behind. You're not a part of my glory and fame with me and VJ, right? Yeah. Samsara. Let me bring my camera. I hope it doesn't fall down. Bring it back a little bit so you see me better, right? Is that better, guys? It's a bit better. I have one beer left. I'll drink my beer when I watch the show with you guys. I got my Chromecast back because I cleaned my room. Yeah. Simsar. Ivan, when you say show don't tell, do you mean like you have to show every time? No. Like you balance it out. It's good to tell too. But like don't just tell too much. Like you gotta balance it out. Like try to show more what's going on. That way your story is more interesting. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt to tell some stuff too. As in my book, I have telling too, as you guys read. Sometimes I tell, sometimes I show. I do a lot of showing in my book. I also balance it out with telling. You gotta do a bit of both. Obviously. But showing is obviously better than telling. You're better off showing more in your book than telling, right? Telling is a bit more boring. But showing makes your book more interesting. But there's nothing wrong with telling in your book, obviously. Just don't do too much of it. That's my point. Samsara. Yeah. And don't have your character be a Mary Sue, whereby like he or she is so likable, they don't have any trials and tribulations in the book. Don't do that. If you do that, you wrote a poor character. As Tactius is not a Mary Sue. He goes through trials and tribulations in his life when you read the book, right? You know what I'm saying? You have volume 1. He leaves the walls. He takes on a fake identity. He gets thrown in a dungeon. He's frustrated because he's away from home. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like he goes through trials and tribulations like when you read the book, obviously. That's why it's a masterpiece, my book. It's a masterpiece, yeah. It's a masterpiece, my book. Yeah, man. Ivan, do you think some fans will like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones better? Yeah. I would not be surprised. If they do, I understand. Those are amazing books too. I'm not going to be cocky and say every fan will like Xanus better than Lord of the Rings. I highly doubt it. My book's more interesting as you guys read, but some fans might say, no, I like Lord of the Rings better. I like Way of Kings better. It just depends how the art hits you, right? Yeah. I think the majority of fans will think my book is the best fantasy novel written, but there's probably going to be a minority out there, the haters, who will like Lord of the Rings and Way of Kings better. Yeah, Ivan's book was a bit raw, especially in Volume 3. I like Lord of the Rings and Way of Kings better. Yeah, I like those books better, I understand. Art hits everyone in different ways, right? Art hits everyone in different ways. Yeah. Some Sarah. Like the Chronicles of Narnia, for me, it's arguably I kind of like it a bit more than Lord of the Rings. It's a more entertaining read. It's not as boring and dry as Lord of the Rings, but Lord of the Rings, because the world building is so rich, the quality of the world building is so rich, better than Narnia. It's tough to top that, obviously, but I kind of have a better reading experience reading Narnia than I do Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings feels a bit more dry when I read it, obviously. But I told you, J.R.R. Tolkien was a product of his time. He was born in a different generation, obviously. That's why his writing is very dated when you read it, obviously. As nowadays, if Tolkien grew up in this generation, a lot of the stuff that you see in Lord of the Rings would have been cut by the editor, man, because he drags on with all these info dumps. But back in the day, the publishing business was different. J.R.R. Tolkien was a product of his time. He wrote his book was really good then, but now the new generation, they catch his dated writing, obviously. As when you read Lord of the Rings, you can tell it's written by a guy who was not born in our time. J.R.R. Tolkien was born in a different generation, before technology boomed, right? He was born like right before the industrialization, right? Yeah, before Hollywood. Jared Tolkien was born before there was no Hollywood, man. There was no television. He grew up in a different time. Hence why his writing is dated when you read it, right? He says alas and all that stuff. Nowadays, authors don't say alas. He always says alas in his book and everything. You can tell it's a bit dated, his writing, when you read it. Tolkien. Yeah. Read Lord of the Rings and read Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. You see a difference. Clearly, George R. R. Martin and J.K. Rowling, they grew up in a different generation. That's why their writing is more up to date, whereas Tolkien's writing is a bit dated when you read it, right? No offense, right? Yeah. But back in the 50s and the 40s and the 30s, back in the 30s and the 50s when Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit were released, it was good for that. It was very up to date for that time. But as generations passed and the authors had different writing styles in the upcoming new generation, it's obviously different, obviously. You guys see what I'm saying, huh? Like Eddie Murphy, he did stand-up comedy back in the 80s. And you see his jokes then. They were funny then, but now it wouldn't really work. Because it was a different generation, different time, obviously. His jokes were very simple jokes back in the 80s. His delirious stand-up comedy, you guys saw that? Yeah, very funny. But for the 80s, back then, it was funny. He was a product of his time. But nowadays, people don't make jokes like that. They make jokes as they adapt to the new generation. Like you see Dave Chappelle's jokes compared to Eddie Murphy's jokes. Eddie Murphy's jokes are so simple because he was a product of his time. He did stand-up comedy in the 80s. In a different generation with the baby boomers and the Gen Xers and the silent generation, whereas now you have the millennials and the Gen Zs. That really wouldn't, those jokes wouldn't really work that well today. Guys, what I'm saying, huh? That's a good example. But it worked back then, right? Yeah. When Eddie Murphy did stand-up comedy, right? Yeah. Yeah, like you see my writing is completely different from Tolkien, right? I write nothing like Tolkien. Yeah, Ivan, your writing's more updated. Yeah, because I'm a millennial. I grew up in the 90s. And no, I didn't grow up in the 90s. I grew up in the 2000s. In a newer generation. Hence why my writing is obviously different than Lord of the Rings. But the one truth is that all these fantasy authors, they're all inspired by Tolkien, man. There were guys before Tolkien too. Like Tolkien didn't really create fantasy; he popularized it. That's how I see it. Tolkien didn't create fantasy, as there's a lot of authors who wrote books before him, before his time, like Hemingway and all those guys, right? Yeah. Because people always say Tolkien created fantasy. He did not create fantasy. He popularized it. He popularized the genre, but he didn't create it. There's other guys who Tolkien got some of his ideas from other authors, right? With the mythology of the elves and all that stuff, yeah. Samsara? Yeah. I like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter better than Lost of Anxiety. Yeah, if you like those books better, I understand. Art hits everyone different ways. Yeah. Art hits everyone different ways. Samsara. Art hits everyone different ways. Yeah, there you go. Samsara. Yeah. Will you write their unique, Ivan? I might. I'll think about it. Once I get my book proofread I design my cover, I might consider finishing up their unique. I can dedicate a good 5 pages a day. Be as consistent as I can be. Yeah. I can finish it in 4 or 5 months. Probably write a 150,000, 20,000 word novel in 5 more. If I write 5 pages a day, that's 30,000 pages a month. So 2 months, 60,000, 3 months, 90,000. 4 months. Yeah, probably a 100,000 page book I write, which is like a 400 page book, 380 page book, whatever it is. That's good enough, obviously. Yeah. Most likely not, though. I'm most likely just gonna focus on things. I don't want to save another $2,000 for their unique, right? I gotta edit that too, and then I gotta get it design my cover. I gotta save another $2,000 for that for their unique. So that's why it's highly unlikely. I wrote Xanus, my masterpiece. I'll make my billions off that. Yeah. How much do you think you'll make, Ivan? 10 to 20 billion I make off the book, or I make more. I don't know. I might make more. If everyone in the world buys it because I have the keys to the kingdom, I'll make my $100 billion off the book around there, 80, 90, 100 billion. But I highly doubt it because the majority of the world don't speak English. And so they can't buy my book, they don't understand it. And it's the English speaking world. That's why it narrows it down to 10 to 20 billion. He's like, how's the money off your book, by the way? I made $18 million. You made $18 million off your book? I'm like, yeah. She's like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. I know. Yeah. And if I make 18 billion, I'll make Xanus for 2.7 billion, 900 million per volume. And I can put 600 million towards visual effects, a bit more. 550, 560 million towards visual effects, 570 million towards visual effects, a bit more. Give Peter a bigger budget for your movie. Yeah. Some sound. How's your nose, Ivan? My nose is pretty much good. Still a little runny and everything, but it's good now. It was never really stuffed. It was just a little bit stuffed for the past like 3-4 days, but now my nose is pretty good. It's pretty good, my nose. Yeah. Ivan, this is your new setup? Yes, this is my new setup, guys. Because I cleaned my room. Yeah. My TV is now way over there on the stand, and I got rid of my background, the stand for my background, and my stool chair that's broken. The screws fell off. I put it in the garbage outside. I had my table, but all my other stuff is gone. Remember my background I had? Yeah. I got rid of it. I don't need it anymore. I spent like $300 on that back in 2019, right? I invested like $300 on Amazon. I bought the chair, the stool, and everything. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't need it anymore, right? Because I'm not doing my miscellaneous series anymore. My miscellaneous series ended like 4 years ago, it ended, right? 3.5 years ago, it ended. Yeah. If you make 18 billion, you'll pour money towards your house. Yeah. If I make 18 billion, I can put a good 800 million towards me and Regis' house. Pivot out even more like Incredibles. $500 million is already like Incredibles. $800 million is even more high tech, obviously. He's like, Ivan, you made $18 billion off your masterpiece, off your book. I'm like, yeah. She's like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. I know. That's a lot of money, man. Are you gonna share that with me? I'm like, yes, I will, honey. Relax. I'm gonna share with you, you fucking evil woman. Yeah, man. Are you gonna share your love with me too, VJ? I share with me too. Yes, VJ. You gotta share with me too. That's how it works. Can't be selfish. Yeah. Some sound. Yeah. Give me a second. I'm gonna get another drink. Back in a sec, guys. I'm gonna show this show. Alright, guys, I'm back. Well, upstairs getting a drink. Yeah, there's a lot of drinks upstairs because the family came over, right? They bought a bunch of drinks. Yeah, I made the fried rice. It was really good. I ate like 2 plates. Yeah. Yeah. Will your book be professional, Ivan? Yeah, it will, but it will not be as professional as like a traditional publishing book, right? As self-publishing books are not as professional as traditional publishing books. They're just not. Because the traditional publishing business is a book business. They focus on books, hence why the books are more professional than self-publishing books, obviously. But self-publishing books are still professional too, right? They're good enough, right? Yeah. 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 VJ's like, Ivan, you made $18 billion with a B. Are you sure that's not 1.8? I'm like, no, VJ, I made 18 billion. She's like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. I know. Ivan, you made the right choice, man. You're brave, man. Yeah, I know. I know I made the right choice. Even though it's scary and everything, I'd rather wiggle and have the gates do that. No way. And take all my money when you make your trains every year. You're crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And me and Vijay, we can build our $800 million house. Even 900. If I make 18 billion, I can put 900 million towards my house. If I make 20 or 20 plus, I put $1 billion towards it. If I'm not going to go any higher than $1 billion, I don't want to waste money, right? That's why looking at something like Incredibles, man. An 800 million house, that's like Incredibles, you know. What you see in Incredibles 1, yeah, it's fucking unheard of. He's like, Ivan, seriously? Well, Vijay, you do the math. $800 million towards a house, that's like what you see in Incredibles 1, man. Like, for $800 million, you can build a house underwater easily. I'm not going to build a house underwater like Incredibles, but you can build a house underwater with $800 million. That's unheard of, man. We own this high-end house. That's why the Xanus are going to be shocked when they walk into my house. Well, Ivan, Vijay, this is your house, I know. Eric Rezahaki are shocked. Ivan, Vijay, this is your house. How much did you pay for this, Ivan? You want to know, guys? Yeah, $800 million. Holy shit. You have a nice fucking house here. Yeah, they're shocked. And they signed master contracts, and their contract is pocket jeans where Vijay's contract. You know. They signed a $560,000 deal, and even though they can afford a $600,000 beautiful house with a pool, it's not my house, right? And those guys are now rich and living an amazing life as my head chefs. You know, Ivan's the big boss, man. He's paying us a lot of money, and our contract is pocket jeans, yeah, compared to his and VJ's contract, yeah. And you guys will see my house. I'm gonna do a tour on the reaction video. A tour of my sewer lot and a tour of my house. So the documentary will come in 2 parts. You got Planting Skies with George, and then you have the reaction video. Planting Skies with George might be maybe a 3-hour or 4-hour documentary. The reaction video may be a 2-hour documentary. It's just the filming me and VJ's $800 million house being built, and the studio lot, the Gran Turismo studio lot for SkySource. He's like, oh my god, Ivan, this is my dream. Oh my god, this is a beautiful studio lot. We own all this, Ivan, I know. We own all that. That's why she's crazy and she cries to me. Because VJ wants me to get out of Hollywood, man. She got duped by the gate. She's fucking stupid. And even though Ivan's poor, his keys are worth a lot. He wrote his masterpiece. That's worth billions. He's gonna make his $18 billion off that. I want a piece of that. Yeah, she's fucking crazy, yeah. Because she makes like her 500, 400, 300K for movies now with VJ. She gets shitty money. That's not bad money. That's pretty good money. I would love to have 500K. That's a lot of money, but she got duped. She's supposed to be a multi-billionaire. She's not supposed to be worth $12 million, man. The gates lock the doors on her, man. We'll never let her be a billionaire. It's not going to happen. They're consumed with her envy. They're crazy people. I'm saying. That's why God gave you the keys, Ivan. That way you can make your billions and the gates don't dupe you. Yeah. And you get your freedom with VJ. Now, if you want to have your wife all fresh yourself and control your own money and make your billions and be free, be rich and free, you have to open your own door. Otherwise, you're going to be under the gatekeepers. Yeah, and you're not free. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm going to take a nice hot shower after this. Cold shower after this. I'm fucking hot. Yeah. Some sour. Yeah. And because I now have my freedom and I'm king and I control my own money, me and VJ made our $18 million, I can now start Scotland with VJ. I can get all the chosen Hollywood actors and Peter Jackson and Mel Gibson out of Hollywood. They get their freedom with me and I pay them more than what they make in Hollywood. But after the movie, you're going to go back to Hollywood and be like, you deserve it. I'm not going to resign you. You go, you fucking deserve it. There you go. I was nice enough to save you. After the movie, you can pay all you want. You're not good with the grace of Keanu Reeves. I'm going to keep saying that. You're not good. Or Spider-Man Miles Morales. Most likely the grace of Keanu Reeves, right? Yeah. Keanu Reeves and all them felt like shit during the 5 years of Xanus. Now they want experience, success, and fame and glory with me and VJ. And the wealth. All you Xanus stars are not good for the movie. You can bail you want, you're not good. Don't hate me, I'm saying you're not good. Yeah, there you go. Some Sarah. Yeah, almost done, guys. I'll talk for maybe 23 more minutes. This video will only be an hour and I'm done. Yeah. Yeah. I have to dry my bed sheets. I washed it, but I have to dry it. Yeah. Yeah. Shadow Cartier still hasn't gotten back to me, so chances are I didn't get the job right. Who knows? I might hear from them maybe in a week or 2 weeks. I don't know. They were looking for a dishwasher online, but I applied online. They didn't answer me, so I applied in person. And the lady told me, yeah, the manager will call you and see when you are available, but they haven't called me. They always say that, right? They're going to call you back, but they don't call you right now. I would love to work there, man. Fucking nice hotel. Holy shit. It's a fucking 5-star high-end hotel, man. It's fucking nice. And that's where I'm staying for my final 10-day goodbyes, right? I'm going to stay at Shadow Cartier for 10 days. Yeah. But I'm going to get a membership at the... there's a building here where they have a big swimming pool. A big, like, Olympic swimming pool. I'm going to get a membership. I heard it's like $50 a year. I'm going to get a membership there. Go swimming for like an hour every day. I'll go there. That way I lose weight. Because you lose a lot of weight swimming. Yeah, you lose a lot of weight when you swim. So yeah, I can go swimming. Obviously, I'm sidetracking, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Why? Will the Hollywood actors really beg? Yes, they're all gonna beg, man. My company blows out of the water. I don't know, they partied up in my $800 million house. Like Incredibles. They fly in my Incredibles jet to sign their contracts. They see my Gran Turismo studio lot, my nice luxury office. All the parties in my yacht, tables in my yacht, the luxury buffet, being featured on a magazine with me. You know what I'm saying? The commercials, the Hollywood Zayn stars. They're gonna beg. Experience that buzz with me. They're gonna beg, man. That $800 million budget movie. They're gonna beg, yeah. $800 million budget movie per volume, right? Yeah. And that thing, they're gonna beg, man. My company blows out of the water. They want to be saved. They won't be left behind. That's why they're all gonna beg. John Boyega will beg. Avon Joe, JG Mohansu, Edges of Carl Urban. They're all gonna beg, man. Pedro Pascal, if I choose him, he'll beg too. They're all gonna beg. Why even please, man? They might even cry, yeah. They know my company's burning Hollywood and they want to be saved, they don't want to be left behind. Yeah, that's actually funny. Some of them might cry, yeah, man. Yeah. Will it get to you when they cry? Yeah, it will a little bit, but I'm not gonna have them do like that, man. No way. Look, man, your pity game's not gonna work, man. You can even cry and shed tears, man. You're not good for this movie, man, with Keanu Reeves. Like, I'm not kidding around, guys. You can even cry to me. I'm not going to show pity for you. If you're going to go back to Hollywood, let behind, you get what you deserve. Media's like, no, we're not re-signing you. Yeah, Ivan, VJ, please, 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 Ivan, please, VJ, please. So that, yeah, they're begging hard. Their agents will even tell them to beg. Yeah, beg your ass off, Ryan, VJ, resign you for the next movie. Ivan's company blows out of water. He easily pay you more, yeah. And give you better perks, crazier fame, and his company blows out of the water. Yeah, it blows out of the water, my company. Yeah. Because chances are, John Boyega, after he does Zans, he might negotiate for maybe his 5, 6, 7, 8 now. Maybe 8 million Hollywood, 7 million. Whereas I could easily pay him more for The Great Escape. Easy pay John his like 9.8 for The Great Escape, give him 11 million of the royalties. 11.5 million of the royalties and pay him like 2.3 million, 2 million for the game. You sound like a 25 to 26 million deal. It's gonna take a while for John Boyega to make that in Hollywood, to make $20 million in Hollywood. He has to build his brand for his career, right? Yeah. He knows I can pay him more, that's why he's in the bag. John Boyega. No, Ivan, like, I know you think I'm joking around. I'm not playing around. I don't want to go back to Hollywood, Ivan. I want to work for you for the rest of my life. No, John, you're not good for the greatest of kind of reason. I'm not going to be signing. Stop being greedy and selfish. I'm saying, yeah. So when they beg, they're not playing around. No, they're not joking around. They're being very, very sincere when they beg. Like, Ivan, I know you think I'm playing around when I'm begging. I'm not playing around. I don't want to go back to Hollywood, Ivan. I want to work for you. I'm like, no, guys, you're not good for the greatest of kind of reach. You're not good. That's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna have you doing that, man. No way. Yeah. 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 I might get a big Lord of the Rings poster. I can hang it in the background here. When I make my video, I have a Lord of the Rings poster. I can do that to build buzz for Xanus, the fantasy world. Because Xanus will be like Lord of the Rings, right? The closest thing to Xanus is Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings was a complete fantasy world. Xanus will be like that. Is that the world looks different, as I showed you guys. It's a different world. That Chromecast picture I showed you, and the Guardians of the Tree of Life, Perry Stone, that picture, yeah, think of a world like that for Xanus. It's a different world than Lord of the Rings. But it's fantasy like Lord of the Rings. Fantasy-esque like Lord of the Rings, right? Will it be like Game of Thrones? No. Game of Thrones feels more medieval when you watch it. It's fantasy too, but Game of Thrones has more of that medieval feel when you watch the show and when you read the books. Whereas my book is like Lord of the Rings. It has more of that Lord of the Rings feel. Doesn't really have the medieval feel in my book. It has the fantasy, the hardcore fantasy feel like Lord of the Rings. As I was inspired by Tolkien when I wrote Xanus, obviously, right? Inspired by the movies. I did not read the books yet. I read Fellowship of the Ring in grade 5. I read the whole book. And I read it again. So I read Fellowship of the Ring twice. Well, 2.5 times. I read it on my channel too. The first half of it. Book 1. I read the first half of it for you guys on my channel, right? Yeah. Obviously. As the truth is, all the fantasy authors, all the fantasy books that come out today were pretty much inspired by Tolkien's writing, Tolkien's worldbuilding, obviously. You get some of that inspiration from Tolkien, because Tolkien's the one who popularized fantasy in the 50s and 30s when he wrote it. He didn't create fantasy, there were fantasy authors before him, but he popularized it. As fantasy was not that popular before Tolkien, it was not really that big, and Tolkien set the standard, he popularized it. That's why all the upcoming fantasy authors, they all have inspiration, most of them anyways, have inspiration from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, obviously. That's why Tolkien is considered a legend, obviously. A legendary fantasy author, right? Yeah. Some sound. Yeah. Yeah. Ivan, what about your book? Will your book popularize fantasy? No, fantasy is already popular right now, right? Yeah, and my worldbuilding, even though it's amazing, it's not Tolkien's worldbuilding, right? Like, Lord of the Rings clearly has a richer history, richer worldbuilding than even my book. I'm not scared to admit that, but I think my worldbuilding is more unique than Lord of the Rings. But Lord of the Rings worldbuilding is better than my book, man. It's so rich and so in depth. Nobody can beat that, man. It's too rich, too deep. Nobody can ever beat that worldbuilding in fantasy. But many have, you can argue quite a bit have beat his story, right? You can argue Game of Thrones is a better story. I don't think Game of Thrones is a better story than Lord of the Rings, but you can argue it is better. It just depends how the art hits you, right? But I've read a bit of Game of Thrones, obviously, online. There's snippets of the book. I read a little bit of it. It looks interesting, but it's not Lord of the Rings, right? Lord of the Rings, I think, is still better than Game of Thrones. I read a little bit of it online, but I think Lord of the Rings is still better, but I mean, it just depends how the art hits you. Yeah. Yeah. And I promise, guys, when I say if I do write their unique, when I say I'll write their unique, I promise, guys, I will finish it. I'm not going to be like George R. R. Martin, who can't finish his Winds of Winter, right? But at the end of the day, George R. R. Martin is not the fans' bitch. He can take his time, but I mean, like, if you want to be known as like a really great author, you got to finish your series. Because if George R. R. Martin doesn't finish his series, that's not good. Like, he needs to finish his series before he passes away, because he's getting old, man. He's 76 now. He probably has maybe another 18, 20 years left on this earth, man. He's got to get it. He has to get it done, man. Yeah, it took him 13 years. Yeah, Ryan, it took you 8 years to write Xanus. Yeah, because I procrastinated. Then once I actually put in the work, I finished the whole book within like 11, 12 months. Because I had my writing goal every day of writing 5 pages a day. As George R. R. Martin is obviously procrastinating, and he obviously is suffering from writer's block, obviously. So, Sarah, that scared me. So, Sarah. Why do you think he's suffering from writer's block? I don't know the reason. There's a few factors. One is he's getting old. When you're older, it's tougher for your brain to function, obviously. Secondly, he has a lot of pressure from the fans for his ending to be good. Obviously. The third reason, he's distracted. He's doing a lot of things on the side, right? He did the Elden Ring game. He's writing television series. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Obviously. And another reason is the Game of Thrones show. They ran out of source material because George R. R. Martin didn't release the final 2 books. And so they had to make up stuff for season 7 and 8. That's why season 7 and 8 were terrible. And because the fans already saw season 7 and 8, and they have an ending that's not what George intended, it becomes tougher for him to finish his novel. You guys see what I'm saying here? Because what happens in Winds of Winter and Dream of Springs is not what happens in season 7 and season 8 of Game of Thrones. So you have a little bit of a dilemma there. That could have fucked up a bit of his writing, right? Yeah, if I write Winds of Winter and Dream of Springs, it's not going to be like the ending of Game of Thrones because I didn't finish my series by the time the show ended. Hence why David Weiss and David Benioff, whatever their name is, they had to make up stuff because they ran out of source material. Hence why the last 2 seasons are known as being god-awful for Game of Thrones. Hence George Lucas is kind of in a... George R. R. Martin is kind of in a messy situation. Yeah. But I think he's just procrastinating. Because he had time to write Fire and Blood. He wrote that book, and yet instead of writing that book, you should have taken the time to finish Winds of Winter. And yet he wrote those 2 books. He wrote 2 other books after Dance with Dragons. Fire and Blood and another book he wrote. So if you have time to write those books, you obviously have time to finish Winds of Winter. You're just procrastinating and you, yeah. Obviously. But George R. R. Martin might be a perfectionist. He doesn't want to write a crappy book for Winds of Winter and Dream of Springs, obviously. Yeah, like, I can finish the book, but what if the fans don't like it? He goes back and he changes this, changes that. He wants to write the best book possible for the fans, obviously. So I'm saying, yeah. Well, you don't have to worry about that for me. When I say I'll write the unique, I'll set my goal 5 pages a day. I'll finish it in like 4 or 5 months, 6 months. I'll finish the book if I write the unique, right? Yeah. Are you a prolific writer, Ivan? When I want to be, yeah. When I don't want to be, if I choose to procrastinate, I'm not prolific. When I choose to be prolific, I'm very prolific, obviously. As I finished Xanus. Once I became serious, I finished my whole book in like a year. It took me like a year to write it. I finished it in a year, yeah. I had the end of volume 2 to write, and I wrote all of volume 3. Finished the book in like a year. I was grinding like 5 pages every day, man. Yeah, I took a few days off here and there, but I was very consistent as a writer. And that's key to all your aspiring authors. You need to be consistent with your writing. Try to set a goal to write 5 pages every day. Obviously, but there's nothing wrong with taking a few days off if you're stressed out and you have other stuff going on in your life. You have another job. I understand. But my best advice I can give you is try to be as consistent as you can as a writer when you write your book. If you're not consistent and you procrastinate, you're never going to finish your book. And if you do, it might take you 8, 9, 10 years to finish your book. And you just wasted a lot of time, right? But there's context, obviously. If you have kids, you're working everything. Then you don't really have to write every day, but you try to be as consistent as you can. That's my point. Because there's context. Some people are going to be going through stuff in their life. They have kids. They're working. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying. So you gotta try to find that balance for your writing and for your personal life. So I'm saying. Yeah, that's my point. Yeah. Yeah. Last one. I'll talk a little longer as my chest count for here. Take a nice cold shower and I'll watch the show with you guys. Yeah. Ivan, are you lying, man? Is your whole book like that? Yes, guys, I'm not lying to you guys. My whole book, what you read, is like that. It's constant entertainment. That's why I wrote a masterpiece. It'll be a public embarrassment in the industry when I release it, man, my book. It'll be an embarrassment in the industry, yeah. Because these writers don't write like me. I have a unique style of writing. I break the rules when I write. That's why my writing is abnormal and it works. Yeah, Ivan, the way you form your dialogue is very weird. Like authors don't write like that, Ivan. You break the rule. Yeah, even though I break the rule, it works for a reason. That's why my writing is unique. The dialogue flows nice. You know what I'm saying? The characters jump on the page. Yeah, it's a masterpiece, man. Yeah, man. It's a masterpiece. Ivan, what volume do you think most fans will like? I'm going to make a prediction. I think volume 2, most fans will like the best, and then volume 3 will be a close second, and volume 1 is the worst. But some fans might like volume 1 better than volume 1 of volume 2 and volume 3 because they like the whole thing behind the wall and Xanus, obviously, right? They like that whole thing. It just depends how the art hits you. Yeah. But for me, volume 1's the worst because it's just a build-up of the story. Volume 2 is when you meet the Southerns, you have the drama and the politics, what's going on in Barack, and then volume 3 is when the story gets deep and powerful, and it blows your mind away. Hence why volume 3 is my favorite, but you can argue volume 2 is better because you can argue the flow of the dialogue is less raw than volume 3. And if you're more into the drama and the politics, as I showed you, you'll like volume 2 better. But if you're more into the action sequences, the big climaxes of the story, the plot twist, and you like volume and your mind being blown away, you like volume 3 better. It just depends on how the art hits you, right? Yeah. 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 So Ivan, you're very protective of Xanus. Yes, man. I don't want anyone touching my story. That's why I'm not selling. I don't want the traditional publishing houses touching my fucking story. They can ruin my story. Ivan, we know better than you. No, you don't, man. You didn't write my book, man. Yeah. So I'm saying, huh? Yeah. No, Ivan, the editors know what's best for your book. Yes, I know they do, but like I have the creative gift. I know I'm gifted. I'm talented. I know my book is good enough. I don't need anyone touching my story, man. I don't want anyone touching my story. Yes, you can fix a few little things here and there, a few dialogue here and there, but it's a masterpiece. It doesn't need any fixing. My book is a masterpiece. I don't need any help with that. With the story, I don't need any help. It's the proofreading I need help with. But the story, you don't touch. Like, you guys read my They're Unique. When you read it, it was not edited, obviously, as there was no sentence structure and all that stuff. But the story was entertaining, right? Yeah, I mean, you could have fixed up a few dialogue here and there, but it's still fucking entertaining, yeah. Obviously, if I do write They're Unique, I'm going to fix up some of the dialogue, obviously, in that passage. That's a bit more raw, right? But it's still interesting when you read it, right? Yeah, that sounds like a masterpiece. Yeah, it's a great start to your story. I know. My book is a masterpiece. They're Unique will be a masterpiece too. I don't think it'll be as good as Zane's, but it'll be a masterpiece too if I write it, right? Yeah, but I'm going to buy a laptop. I don't want to write on the computer there. I'm going to buy myself a laptop. And I hope the Gates don't fucking hack my laptop again, man, and ruin my fucking laptop. Because they hacked my laptop and they ruined it. You know. Because they're crazy people. They deleted my file, right? I had to rewrite it. I told you my story, right? Yeah, the shop said, yeah, Ivan, we can't fix your black screen. And I'm like, fuck me, man. I had to rewrite the like all of volume 3 and like the end of volume 2, man. It took me like 5 months to rewrite all that, man. Fucking stressing, but I had no choice. I knew they locked the doors, man. I had to finish the book, man. I was stressed out. Yeah. But from now on, I learned my lesson. Save it on your Hotmail, Ivan. Yeah. When I rewrote my book, I learned my lesson. Every time I wrote, I saved it on my Hotmail. That way, if they fuck up my laptop, it's saved on my Hotmail. They can't touch my file. Because before when I wrote Zane's, I only had it saved on my desktop, on my laptop. And the Gates knew that, hence why they fucked up my laptop so they can delete my file. But I ended up rewriting it and I finished the book. And I showed you what I had to write, man. I wrote all that, man. All those books. Yeah, it's crazy. Ivan, you must have been stressed out. Oh, yeah, I was. I write like 5 pages. I go outside, I have a smoke. I was fucking stressed out, man. But I had no choice. I had to rewrite it. Otherwise, I knew my book was the journey for me becoming king. That's why I had to finish it. I had no choice, man. The Gates locked the doors on me, man. Yeah, man. Some sour. Yeah. That's why Zane's will be the best fans novel written. You guys will serve me when you read it. Anyways, guys, I talked for an hour and like 3 minutes. That's good enough. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Stay tuned. I'll make a video tomorrow morning. This is Idamer. I'm signing off. Peace. Hope you guys enjoy the show about Xanus. Peace out, guys. And the book publishing business.